All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Chakadash. Welcome to another live lesson. Name of this one is The Ignorance of the Modern Day Christian. Now, this is something I had looked up a couple of days ago. I was actually going to do this lesson yesterday, I believe it was, but I didn't do it yesterday. But it's just basically an association with names in particular. And pretty much you have these modern day Christians that have gone to school. I'm not talking about the average, Jake in a church, store, these hood, churches. Oh, by the way, stay away from them hyenas, stay away from them hyenas in the hood. And pretty much, these so-called theologians, certain ones of them, they try to tie Job with the name Joab, and name association doesn't make somebody of the same nation. Okay. You have, for instance, I like to use in the book of Genesis, the 5th chapter, right? Just use this real quick, then I'll show you a couple of things, and I got to check the oven in a minute, so just bear with me. Right. Genesis 5:18, and Jared lived 162 years and begot Enoch. Now, this is Enoch, right, which should be Chanawak, I believe it is. Chanawak, right? So you have an Enoch, and this line, which is a line of Adam that goes to his son Seth. These are the sons of God. But when you go to the 4th chapter of Genesis, in the line of Cain, right? Within the line of Cain, you also have here Genesis 4:17, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. So you had a wicked Enoch and you had a righteous Enoch. But just because they both bore the same name doesn't make them the same. Doesn't make them of the same nation. You see? So you can't use name association, and try to say that they're of the same line or the same people because they have the same name. All right. Also, Genesis 4:18, it says, and unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat what? Lamech. Now, this is a Lamech in the line of Cain, or the wicked. And when you go to Genesis, the 5th chapter, I believe it's Genesis, the 5th chapter, you also have a Lamech here, if I'm not mistaken. Right here. Genesis 5:25. And Methuselah lived 108 years, 80 and 7 years, and begat Lamech. So you have a Lamech in the sons of the righteous. You have an Enoch in the line of the sons of the righteous. You have an Enoch in the line of the sons of the wicked, and you also have a Lamech in the line of the sons of the wicked. That doesn't make them of the same nation because they have the same name. Now, in the instance of Job, Job's name is Job. There's nowhere in the scriptures where it names Job Joab. You have some obscure added that was added afterwards. It was an afterthought in the Septuagint where they say that his name was Joab. That doesn't appear in the scriptures. That's something that was added, by who knows who. You ain't gonna find anywhere in the book of Job where it calls Job Joab. All right, you're not gonna find that. That's not his name. And the name Job and the name Joab are two different names. All right, they sound similar because you have Job and you have Jobab, but they are two separate names, Hebrew names, and two separate Hebrew meanings, if you want to try to take it there. When you look at the name Job, right, the name Job goes to the Hebrew word Ayawab. Ayawab. All right. And it means hated. All right. Um, and that's pretty much what they have. The name hated, because he went through many calamities. So he felt that the Most High hated him, because he was going through all, he was asking the Lord, why have you made me a mark? Why, when I try to sleep, you terrify me in dreams, you make these visions appear, you make, spirits appear and terrify me. I can't even eat. My clothes abhor me. They avoid me. I can't, I don't, even the food that I eat. So he was just going through it. And the name Ayawab or Job goes back to the Hebrew word Ayab, which means enemy. See? To be hostile to be an enemy to. So the Lord, even though he was just trying him, he became an enemy to Job. So the name Job goes back to the Hebrew word Ayawab, which goes back to the root word Ayab. So Ayawab is Job. When you go to Genesis 13, right, 24, wherefore hidest thou thy face, this is Job speaking, and holdest me for thine enemy. When you look up this word enemy, right there, you have the word Ayab, which is 341. The other one was 340, Ayab, which goes back to 340, which basically means an enemy. Okay? That's what the name Job means, to be hated. Or if you want to go into the root word, it goes into the word enemy. When you look up the name Joab, you have two Jobabs within the scriptures. You have a Joab that came out of the line of Shem, as you can see here. This is Genesis 10:21 unto Shem also. So this is the lineage of Shem. All right. When you come down here to Genesis 10:29, and Ophir and Havilah and Jobab, all these were the sons of Joktan. So you have this Jobab here in the line of Shem. Shem, right? This is before Jacob and Esau were born, way before that. When you go back and you just type in Jobab in the scriptures or in the search engine, you're going to get the one in Genesis 10:29, which is that comes out of the line of Shem. And then you're going to get the one that comes later through the same line of Shem that comes through the lineage of Esau, which is here, Genesis 36:33. And Bela died, and Jobab, the son of Zerah of Basra, reigned in his stead. So these are two different Jobabs. All right. One from the line of Shem and the other one from the line of Esau through the line of Shem. All right. So this one directly comes from Joktan. This one comes from the line of Esau. Two separate Jobabs. All right. Now, when we go to the name Jobab itself, so you can see it's two different names. Job and Jobab are not the same names. You go to the word Jobab, you have the word Yahwabab. Yahwabab. The other one was Ayawab. This is Yahwabab. And what does that mean? A desert. All right. I looked over here to cry out, because that's what the word Jobab means, to cry out. See it right there? A howler, howler. You go to the root word etymology, Yabab is a howler, to cry shrilly, right? And over here it says to exclaim, cry out, right? Right? It says also a blow of a trumpet, especially of a battle cry or shout. All right, so to cry out, Yahwabab, right? Yahwabab, and then Ayawab, two different words, two different names. All right, so Job and Jobab are not the same people. The name Job and the name Jobab are not synonymous with each other. They're two separate Hebrew words. So if you try to connect it that way, you can't connect it that way. If you try to say, well, they had the same similar name, well, you had Enoch among the sons of the Most High, you had Enoch among the sons of the wicked, Cain. That doesn't make them of the same line because they have the same name. And that just shows you the ignorance of these Christians. They call themselves smart. They go into college, they learn all these things, but they're really stupid spiritually when you really analyze what they're bringing out, and the very word reconciliation, just lets you know that they're not playing with a full deck, or they're coming with deception, So I just wanted to point that out, something that I was kind of looking into the other day, and I wanted to do a video on it just to show you, that these two names are not related. And just because you have the same name doesn't make you of the same nation. That's stupid, because you had a lot of Hebrew names back then that were popular names that everybody used. You had an Israelite by the name of Elam. You had an Israelite by the name of Obed Edom, or servant of Edom. That didn't make him an Edomite. That didn't make the other Israelite an Elamite. They just happened to have those names. You had a lot of Hebrew names back then that were popular. All right. So it's pretty much what I wanted to bring out. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.